So thank you for taking the time to join our webinar today. We are looking at achieving instant impact in customer experience, 5 steps to success. This is brought to you in partnership with Customer Touchpoint. My name is Chantal Newton and I'm the Marketing Manager at the UK Contact Centre Forum. Just got a few housekeeping points to go through before we begin. The webinar session is fully interactive and we do have some polls for you to participate in today. So when prompted, the poll should appear automatically in the panel on the right-hand side. If it doesn't appear automatically, if you just select the polls tab from your box, you can participate in the polls there. We will be taking questions throughout the session today, so if you do have a question for the team at Customer Touchpoint, please type them into the chat box and I will put them to the guys while we go along. The webinar is expected to last an hour today, so if you are unable to stay for the whole session, it's being recorded and the link will be emailed to everybody within 24 hours of the session ending. So I'm joined today by 2 of the team at Customer Touchpoint. We've got Rick Kirkham, he's the founder and managing director, and Doogie Nicole, the head of digital and customer operations. So to get the presentation started, I'm going to pass you over to Rick. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks very much, Chantal, and thanks for joining us, everybody. We know there's a great deal going on out there, so we appreciate them making time to listen to us today. And as Chantal mentioned, we're going to look at the Customer Touchpoints view and experience around how to achieve instant impact in customer experience, and very happy to take questions as we go through and be really interested to hear your thoughts and experiences, particularly at the moment in the changing climate that's going on around us. So we hope the session will be practical. There'll be things to think about. There'll be things that you can take away and do yourselves and look at your operation and your customers. And very much not a salesy presentation. We just want to talk to you about how we think about customer experience, what we found has worked over the years, and how to sort of bring it all together to achieve instant impact success. So I shall just run through the agenda quickly. So we'll just have a look at how Customer Touchpoint came to be, and then we'll just sum up and take any questions at the end if anything springs to mind. Okay, so what do we do and why? Personally, I've been designing and delivering customer contact improvement projects for around 15 years now. And from having worked with a lot of systems that were in place to handle the customer contact, whereas actually the biggest difference was understanding how customers travel through those systems. So the systems need to enable it, but it's not about that. It's about the journey that happens through it by the people that are contacting the organization. And that can be different for each brand, each type of organization, for the reason for contact within one organization as well. And it all started to piece together to create this kind of journey that 5 years ago now I set Customer Touchpoint up and really working with our clients to help them achieve the 4 areas of success in customer experience that we've got on the chart there. So firstly, to get customer experience up to the point where you can effectively influence customer behavior. And we're going to talk about that in a bit more detail shortly. We want to be able to deliver seamless experiences across all the channels and the operation in the background as well, sites, and whether people are at home or on site or a blend. And the outputs of that will be that you'll be able to have more informed decision making, understanding as well as what's happened in the past. We want to get to the point where you can actually understand what's happening right now. And both of those things together, if you get the information through, it really informs that management level decision making and adds a lot of value. And ultimately, all of that comes down to improving profitability. And we do that by reducing the cost of contact, but also adding value in sales type scenarios as well, adding to upsells or convert. Will come through the different steps to that as we go through. So a few of the clients that we work with there have done a lot of work in financial services. I talk about a lot of work in retail, did quite a lot of work in the last 2-3 years in Department for Education and other government areas, helping them to really understand how to take advantage of current advances in customer experience, even in those sometimes quite complicated and emotionally driven environments, and working on business cases as well, which is something we'll come back to quite a lot through this presentation, which is, we know that it can be a bit of a barrier there. Once you know from a CX person point of view or an operational person that you want to do something, you've got that idea that you know is going to add value to customers and the business, actually getting it through, being allowed to go ahead with it and securing the budget for it can be a challenge. So we'll touch on that a bit later on as well. And we're all about delivering long-term and instant impact customer experience solutions, providing the tools and support to deliver those effortless experiences. And you'll hear us talk about effortless quite a lot through this, because it's such an important factor now. Trying to reduce friction, reduced effort in those journeys adds value to customers and to the operation as well. Work with a lot of organisations in the UK and quite a lot abroad, and a lot of work out of Canada, India, Manila, and other areas in the last couple of years as well. And from contact centres, SMEs, and much larger organisations as well that are spread across multiple sites and multiple countries. And the reason for mentioning all of that experience is that it's all contributed to the methods that we use and the way of thinking. And it's taught us a great deal. And it's one thing to have a method and an idea, but the other thing that we have is that real practical element of, okay, we know how to get things done, and we have a way of doing that as well, and we'll talk you through that a bit later on. Hope that adds some value. So we're just going to play a short, it's an audio recording, just the picture there. This is an example of what customers still go through, and the thing I really notice when you're going through sort of personal admin outside of work circles is just some of the journeys and the impact that those journeys that organization has put there deliberately, the impact that has on how people feel, and then the impact that has on the behavior that comes after. So we'll just start with that first audio, Chantal, please. And if you hear a slight beep or a silence, it's because we always take out the company name. There's no publicity on it. We just want to illustrate the points about the journey rather than show the company. So
perfect. Playing the video now, Rick.
To get an annual policy or our 7-day drive-away cover, press 1. For anything else, it's 2. You know, we might share details you give us, including anything sensitive, worldwide with and with our agents and service providers. By going ahead, you're agreeing to this. To make sure you get our best offer now, or at any renewal or at any time, and to protect our customers from fraud, we'll use public and personal data which we obtain from a variety of sources, including a credit reference agency and other external organizations. We'll use this to verify your identity and ascertain the most appropriate payment options for you. Our search will appear on your credit report whether or not your application proceeds. By continuing, you agree to these uses of your information. To make sure we're always improving, we might record and monitor your call. We'd like to let you know about our new products and services by post and email. If this isn't okay, please let us know. Please answer all questions accurately so that your policy is valid. Right, I'm putting you through now.
And there we go. So I don't know about anyone else, but I've obviously listened to that a few times. It still makes me uncomfortable, makes me want to get through. That person's just had a bump, might be a bit shaken up, and they have to listen to that before they go through. And it really makes a big difference to the outcome of that call. And so many organizations, when they're working on the wider CX program, the point at which the customers interact with them and they need something quite often gets forgotten, and that's really the area that we're talking about here. So, and the next audio clip is just an illustration of a lady that's been through a complicated IVR, shall we say, and we get a good insight of how she feels about that. So, Chantal, if you could go with the next one for me.
Good afternoon, thank you for calling. My name is Dan, may I have a name, please?
My name is Sarah. I want to talk to the local branch in Plymouth, actually. I don't know how to do it now. I've no idea how I can do this, because I've been doing this for years, and every time before this, it was always, if you want to speak to your Plymouth branch, if you want to speak to your Southampton branch, then press this number. And now we don't have that option, so I just keep following the instructions, and I end up with you.
Okay, madam. So I will transfer to them because of that, but I just want
Hang
to
on a
inform you
moment,
from
just
now
one
on.
cotton picking minute. What I want to do is, if in future, what do I do if I want to talk to the local office?
Yes, of course, I'll advise you on that. You have to press option 2 for current
Which
hire.
I do, and then it says, if you want to talk to somebody about a collection or a delivery, press 1. If you want to talk to somebody about a collection, press 1. If you want to talk to somebody about a delivery, press 2. That's
So
what
it's
it gives
option-
you. It doesn't help.
It's option 3, madam.
It's option 3, is it? And what, right, it's option 3. Right,
Yeah.
okay.
In the next menu. Option 2 and option 3, and that's the only option that's directing you to them. There should be
Why
some
doesn't
kind
it
of...
say? Why doesn't it say? It's really, really irritating.
And understand that we are, to be honest with you, we are escalating this problem every single day. And I'm just going to escalate it again now. It's with most of the numbers now. The option is to change the vehicle, but yeah, it's not logical. If you want to speak with them, you have to press that you want to change the vehicle. Yeah, and I know that there is not much of a logic in that, but there should be a mistake. Option 3, yeah.
Thanks, Chantal. So, very polite.
Days of the call centre return. God, that sends chills.
I know, absolutely. They're very polite about it, I thought. I mean, there's a number of agent training issues there, I think, but it's a good example of the changes having been made structurally to a operational model and changes made to that customer journey, but without having that outside in view of what the customers are going to have to go through and their perception, and particularly where you've got customers that have been using a number and are used to speaking to people over a period of time. It really does frustrate people, and when they get through, that call is a lot longer than it needed to be, and there's a fair chance that the next time that lady needs one of the services that they provide, she's going to go somewhere else first, and that has a really strong commercial value. So it should be on a slide that's called Why It Matters Even More Now. And I think, we've always talked about this. We've always known it's important, this customer contact and how people feel as they're going through journeys. But, things are a lot different, even this year compared to this time last year, and lots of research out there. We've all experienced it personally and professionally, that the new normal is there, and it's having impacts on customer expectations, changes in demand, having to manage sort of customers and staff virtually, but also, even through that, trust and loyalty can be won and lost at this time. It's about making sure we're still there for customers, and moments of truth have always been a big factor. And with emotions being heightened at the moment, then people are starting to notice it even more than they were before. So, Chantal, it'd be quite useful to see if we can do the poll now, because we just want to try and understand sort of what's happening for you out there in your world from a professional point of view as well. See if you're having similar issues and what you're finding.
Absolutely. So the first poll is live. If it hasn't automatically appeared, if you could just have a look in the polls tab. So the question is, what has been your biggest challenge in the last 6 months from a CX point of view? So we have technology barriers, extreme peaks and troughs in demand, employee performance and engagement, and heightened customer emotion. I know that ringing into a contact centre now is a whole different experience, because obviously a lot of people are working from home. I suppose it's the new normal now, isn't it? But it's been an adjustment from a customer point of view as well as an employee.
Yeah, it has. You're right, and you're probably here as well at the moment. There's some quite nice messages being heard on phone systems in particular, just letting people know that they might hear sort of a few different noises than they normally would.
I have found a lot more people have been more tolerant as well. I mean, I have had, say, a dog barking in the background on one call that I was on with the bank, and they're very apologetic. But I find that I'm more accepting because everybody's in the same boat. Everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I've certainly, children are safely in school today, but the dog is a possible noise intervention.
Or the delivery.
On this one, so, yes,
the knock on the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I've closed that one off. So we've got 22% at technology barriers, 22% extreme peaks and troughs in demand, 11% with employee performance and engagement, and 44% heightened customer emotion.
Yeah, okay. Thanks everyone for responding to that. I think that's really interesting. The technology score was quite high to start with, and then the heightened customer emotion came through. And as we go through the next part of the slides, we'll see why that becomes important. I think maybe technology, sort of contact centers and those sort of environments were maybe a bit used to working from home. It might have been the sheer speed that was required and the volume that was maybe a challenge there. But yeah, if anyone has any examples of the customer emotion or the tech that they wanted to share as we go through, I'd be really interested to hear that. So thank you very much. Okay.
I have got a comment from Philip saying that he's getting sick of the COVID messages.
Right. Okay. Well, that's beautifully teed up the next slide. So thank you very much for that, Philip, because this is what that's all about, and that is a problem for people now. There is a sense here. There should be on a slide that's just got a few newspaper and online media headlines here. People are starting to find it's not an excuse anymore. People are expecting a return to normal levels of service and feeling like maybe there's starting to be used as an excuse, which is not good. And again, it's starting to potentially damage those relationships that people have with organizations and brands. So if I talk about brands, by the way, I'm not sure quite where everybody's from that's listening, but you've got your sort of brand in a commercial sense, but we always use the definition of a brand as being the emotional and psychological relationship that your customers have with you. And if we take that view, that's just as applicable for a local council or a government department or not-for-profit or anybody else. People have that idea in their head of what their relationship is like with you. And if it starts to detract from that, or it becomes worse than that perception, then it really starts to damage the relationship. So, and this is just some snapshots taken off Twitter the other day. People are out there talking about it, and a lot of COVID stuff on there saying, they're blaming it on this, but actually this has always been a problem. And that is a big factor. So people are talking about it, and it does matter to people. But I think we know that it's just a question of what do we do with that information? And certainly one thing that I've noticed is as those technology changes have been put in place from a customer journey point of view, if people are sort of moving off phones onto other channels or anything else like that, actually I'm starting to find there's a lot more dead ends being sort of accidentally placed in customer journeys. And that's something that's likely to send customers through the roof if you send them to one place to ask them to do that, but actually they can't get through or the information's not there. That's that really is going to cause problems for people. So there's some really useful info here from the Temkin Group, now part of Qualtrics, but the importance of the economics of emotion. We've always known that actually if people feel better after their experience with you, if they were happy or delighted with it, they're more likely to buy more, they're more likely to recommend you, they're more likely to trust your company, they'll forgive you after those mistakes, which Chantal was alluding to before, and they'll try new products and services. All of those things have a real tangible economic value to the organization. And if that's starting to deteriorate, then the economics are going to become harder and harder to deal with. Okay, so just wanted to touch on our design methodology, which we call Engage to Influence. And we've called it that because, again, all of that time spent redesigning journeys and studying the customer behavior aspects of when they get in touch with companies is that what we find when people are writing those business cases we talked about earlier, and you want to make a change to something and you want to have a desired effect. So we want to move off of the phone. We think it's going to save us this much money and we want to bring this channel in. They do that, but the most common situation for us to be brought into as a firm is somebody's tried to achieve a certain outcome and they've got a business case signed off and it's just not happening. The uptake from the customer point of view is just not there. So if they put a natural language IVR in and the self-serve acceptance isn't there to justify the cost, or lots of other examples. And so we started to look at this, well, actually, what's the thing that's missing? What's going to be the difference that makes the difference in that? And the difference is that the engagement of the customer at the start of those journeys is just not there in a great many cases. And if you if you want to be able to positively influence the outcome of that interaction, then you have to engage people first. They have to be with you. And that's sort of based on everything that they hear, everything they go through, lots of elements of the journey. If you're not engaging people effectively, you can't influence the outcome of that. So it's really important. So a big part of the design work that we do when we're looking at these journeys is to understand and go to a sort of a deep level on actually for that organization, for that customer type, for that reason for contact, for that contact channel, how are we going to engage those customers effectively right at the start, and what barriers are already in the journey that are preventing that happening, and take those out and make sure we can engage. And at that point, once you've got influence over the outcome of behavior, then those business cases that you're writing become much more accurate, and you're much more likely to get the uptake that you want because you've created that link. You can actually make changes and have confidence that those changes are going to have the desired effect. And that's really powerful. And just talked about influence there a little bit, and it's again something you'll hear us talk about a lot. So it's always important for us to define it, and we consider influence to be a situation in which you affect the outcome of an interaction so that both parties benefit. And again, this is a theme you'll notice when talking to us or working with us, that influence has to be good for both people. It has to be good for the customer, has to be good for the organization. If it's not, then it starts to cause problems. And this is a piece of work from a book from 1969 by a chap called Thomas A. Harris, and it's called I'm Okay, You're Okay. It's a sort of build on transactional analysis work from the 50s, and some of you may be familiar with that. But really, it's about life positions and how people communicate when they're in those different positions. So it's called I'm Okay, You're Okay, and it's about yourself and other people, how you interact with them. And there's only one position on here that Dr. Harris considered to be sustainable, which was I'm okay and you're okay. So you feel good about yourself and you're happy to pass that across to other people. You're feeling good about where they're at. And again, if you think about this in the terms of customer journeys, if you have a natural language IVR, which is set up in a way that customers sense is trying to be a barrier for you to communicating with them, or they don't want you to get through, then actually the business is sort of in one of these negative positions. And it's not sustainable because customers sense that, and the minute they start to sense that there's a barrier, or they're sort of you're okay but they're not okay, then they're going to want to speak to you no matter what you do. Any self-serve option that we put in, and again, when used well and accurately and in targeted impact. So if somebody's thinking before that actually last time they called you, they had to repeat their information, they've been through a system, and this still happens so often. It amazes me. You give your card number or your details and you spend 2 or 3 minutes on the chat or in there, and you get through to a live agent and they don't have that information and you have to repeat. It's really, really bad for service, and it's a relatively straightforward one to sort out in some situations. But if they felt like that last time, but they've still got to ring you for something, they're coming into that call and they're already a bit stressed and a bit irritated and they're a bit tense. So if there's anything then that happens in that journey that exacerbates that, if it's a bit difficult or they have to do that again, then it makes those feelings worse, and that tends to drive negative behaviors. And that's sort of negative from an operational point of view, which is they're not going to accept any self-serve routes. If you tell them that you've got a website, they're likely to scream down the phone. They might leave chats with queries unresolved, or leave baskets full and just opt out. All sorts of things like that, which again are commercially not what we want to be happening. So we're starting to, again, just create that link between all of these things and the customer contact and the finances of the operation. So this is an example. Again, I'll refer to some of these customer journeys as we go through. These are all ones that we've worked with clients on, that we've seen and generally spotted through either just observing and listening to contacts or reviewing customer feedback and then tracking against those customer records to see what's happening. And this was an example of somebody who'd rang an organization to report a bereavement. They went through 3 layers of IVR that took them a couple of minutes. At the end of that, they were told that department was closed and they should hang up and call back agents, or they go to FAQs first, and all of those other things that resolve their query in a way that's good for them and cheaper for them with bereavement queries. And actually, the it was a fairly large organization with lots of arms and lots of different things, but we set it up so that the bereavement team had access to all the different business areas records, so that if you got through to them to report a bereavement, you only ever had to make one contact into them, and all of the admin for all of those cards and policies would be taken care of. And again, as another example of somebody who rang in to do that after it was set up. They were so delighted with it, actually made their life easier. They felt so good about it. It really added to their relationship and their feelings about that organization. After that was all done, they actually moved some of their policies and their cards in there. And it's just so powerful, just understanding what's going on from that customer point of view and making sure what's happening inside the business aligns to what they need, and using all of these things to add value to yourselves and to customers as well. So yeah, tone of voice, this is a big one as well. And again, quite often at the start of projects, we'll try and understand what tone of voice is being used by the brand on various channels, whether it's TV or YouTube or their printed work and their brand values and everything else like that. And it's so often the case that actually that doesn't translate through to the customer contact. You get a lot of money spent on generating that sort of brand awareness and brand affinity, but when it comes to contacting, there's a gap. And again, you've built up that people have that expectation of you in their mind. They ring through, it's not there. It creates a doubt in their mind. Is it really them? You know, do they exist? Have I bought into something that isn't the reality here? And actually, the other side to it as well is that customers don't interact with the technology. They interact with the words that are used, and they're affected by them. I've seen the examples of the emotion. The words that are on there and the way in which they're used have a big impact on how people feel. And that's common across all customer contact channels. So tone of voice from that point of view is everything, and it really matters, and getting it wrong or right makes a big difference in either direction. Okay, so that's sort of the methodology and how we've came to be. So I'm going to move on the slides. There is one, and it always amuses me. I've been interacting with a insurance company, it was, I think, last year, and they sent me a feedback about customer effort, and then informed me that customer effort feedback was going to take about 15 minutes to complete. So, and it's I always sound a bit daft when I say it, really, but as far as feedback is concerned, and a lot of other customer journey work, the customers can only answer the question that we ask them. So if we want better,
log out. So the poll is live for people to join in. If you could just vote now, but just in case we do get low scores on this, Rick, what are you expecting to see with this poll?
I was quite interested to see the different questions that people use, because there's three sort of main ones. You got customer satisfaction, net promoter score, and customer effort. And people use them in different contexts and environments. We have some thoughts on it, and it's, you know, one thing we do when we're working on a project, first of all, is to say, well, actually, let's have a look at what you're measuring and how you measure it.
With the audience, obviously, when we send the recording out, we've had requests for slides as well. It's also a possibility that we could run a poll for you.
Did a survey on a piece of paper and a biro and asked to fill it in, and the question we were asked was whether we'd recommend our visit to Chester A&E to people are going to act on it, then it's a really valuable question. But if not, we find a lot that actually asking, if you're going to ask net promoter score, also ask about customer effort. Satisfaction absolutely still has its place, but actually customer effort is more tied into commercial value. And actually, if you reduce your customer effort scores, you make it easier for people to deal with you, then actually CSAT tends to go up as a byproduct as well. So just want to think about whether the question you're asking is giving you enough valuable information and helping you achieve what you want to achieve. So thanks to those that have filled that in. Okay, let's go back to the slides. Okay, so step 3 on here is calculating the benefits. Have I missed a step?
Yes, step 2.
Okay, there's just the wrong label on the slides. There we go. Excellent.
That was a deliberate mistake, wasn't it?
Listen if you're awake,
yeah,
Rick.
I've lost that one, the ability to claim that one already now by saying where's number 2. So there we go. So yeah, calculating the benefits. We've touched before about getting business cases through and understanding how to do that. The biggest costs that we find are sort of the cost of actually taking phone calls. Industry, Contact Babel research, and other areas put it at just over £4. It's a fully loaded cost to sit there and wait to take a phone call. Average handling time of about 4 minutes. And actually, one thing we've developed over the years is techniques and the ability to really work out which bits of contacts are taking how long, and combine that with actually, because we have that ability to be quite confident about the impact of the journeys that we implement. If we can say, actually, we think there's going to be based on work we've done before, we'd expect a minimum of 10% reduction of this over here, and we think doing that in the IVR will take off 30 seconds of agent time and other things like that. We're quite strong on that, and we've worked on some quite big business cases. And this way of thinking and having this link and all of the proof points that we've got in the business to say, actually, if you use this method, then you can have confidence in your numbers. And we always track and we always measure success as well afterwards. It's a big part of early stakeholder engagement to say, right, let's work out exactly how we're going to prove the success of this. Let's make sure the reporting is in place, and we'll always go back to that. Work with our clients to track the benefits. And really, if you do that really well, because this does have such powerful instant impact, you can start to then quite often work on a roadmap of improvements that you want to make, which are funded out of getting this element of customer contact right, that first interaction and all of those contact channels. It's not uncommon for us to make enough savings in there to say, actually, there's these other things we'd like to do, and we can sort of develop 12, 18-month roadmaps, self-funded CX improvement projects. It's that powerful. So, and again, if anybody's working on business cases or anything like that, they're trying to get projects signed off, there's calculators on our websites for AHT savings and call reduction savings, and always happy to talk and help you get these things through if we can. Okay. Step 3, number 2. Okay, so using technology. Very appropriate for this webinar, isn't it? Using the right CX technology in the right way. And I mentioned before about sort of early on a career in contact centers and customer contact, people very much seen about trying to make the systems work, but actually not about that. It's the way we think about it is, what technology do we need to achieve those business objectives, but is also going to make customers feel the right way about it through that journey. It's the biggest thing. So yes, you've got to have the right capabilities to be interoperable with your other technological estate and your system architecture. But actually, the biggest thing is, will that technology make our customers feel good about using it? Because if they do, and we design those journeys that do that, then you get that win-win. Customer gets query resolved quickly and easily. They're happy. It's cheaper for the organization to serve. So the other big advance at the moment is really, it's even in the last 18 months, is the ability to integrate some of these new technologies with existing architecture as well. It's 5-10 years ago could be quite difficult to get things working together, but that's huge now. And I mentioned a couple of different things here. So we're not a tech provider ourselves. We're a fully independent firm, but we have partnerships with technical companies where we think they're going to add a lot of value, and they're going to be things that we might introduce to our projects. But it's always about what's going to work for your organization and your customers. And so, well, actually, we've got a relationship with these people. Let's try and bring this in. And this first one here, just to mention, is we've got some real-time analytics capability at the moment, and some of you may use analytics at the moment, but that traditional analytics tends to give you information about what just happened, or what happened last week, what happened last month. The big advance in this one is that if you're taking live contacts, this can give you analytics in real time, and because of that, it can also help your live agents through that contact. So for example, if you're in a compliance scenario, because it's scanning the call in the moment, and we say, actually, if it's this type of call, then we need to give this type of compliance information out to the customers, and it lets the agent know if they've missed something, and it can also do real-time sentiment analysis. So it says, actually, customers not very happy about this. You need to do some work to recover because they're a threat. They might leave. And actually, it can prompt the agent do all sorts of really neat things like that. So, from a compliance and a sales value point of view, having this running and prompting and helping can be huge commercially, and also it helps you reduce wrap-up time, and you can do automated quality management as well, because it's scanning all of the calls and the contacts all the time. If you say, actually, your quality scores, you want to make sure the customer, the agent has said this and they've said it in the right way, because it can understand emotion in the contacts, and it can understand sarcasm and everything like that. You can do your quality scores. So rather than doing 5 or so agent scores a month, you can get quality scores on every contact that's coming through. Really powerful and really commercially valuable. So next one across there, contact center as a service. Some of you may be using this already, but really the advantages of having sort of hosted contact center capabilities, particularly now, as people have noticed in the last 6 to 9 months, is that agility, that ability to have updates and take in new applications at the same time, and make sure that you can drop your calls down to your agents on your team wherever they happen to be, and also making sure that you've got that all important management information as well. So again, if you're still on site or hybrid or thinking about going into the cloud from a contact center technology point of view, happy to talk and give our advice on there. Visual IVR. It's a really fairly new, neat way of thinking about customer contact here. So this visual IVR application that we now have is really, if people are, 2 main functions for it. One is to intercept inbound contact. So if people are using a smartphone or a laptop or any device with a screen, rather than dialing a number, you bring up a written menu on your phone that you can go through from a touch tone point of view. You don't have to listen to the audio, you can go through it, but it opens up all of that richness of having a smartphone. So whether that's location or that's your ability to input characters that are not 0 to 9, which is pretty much what we're limited to on an IVR. You can send documents, you could send photos of ID, and you could do lots of all of these things all within a very neat interactive app on the phone. And you can launch it if you've got a phone number on a website. You could actually, instead of generating a call, you could link a visual IVR transaction, but as well as the self-serve aspect of that. And we find the projects that we've done have got about an 80% self-serve uptake on it. You choose the right journeys and the right ones carefully, but if you pick the right one, people really go for it. But then also, because it is a live call within the IVR, actually, if the customer needs to speak to you or there's a reason to do that, when they break out and they come through to an agent, the agent gets presented with that information. So it's a good experience, and it cuts down the AHT quite dramatically on that call as well. So a couple of benefits there. And yeah, customer feedback tools, we've touched on that quite a lot already, but again, I'm still surprised when I go into some organizations and see the low quality of MI that they get off the feedback and the abilities that are out there right now, and the capabilities, as well as having all of the dashboards and agent level, supervisors level and management level views and all the reporting on it, but also that scanning of actually what are people saying when we're not asking them. Scan those social media posts. We're going back to the earlier slide. If you can be out there looking at what people are saying about you when you're not asking them a survey, that's so valuable, because you can do some sort of service recovery and make those things right. Or, a big one is all of this work, as well as fixing problems, can help you replicate success. And again, in a business case, if people have got something that's worked and they're trying to make it happen again, but actually it didn't work as well the next time, what was it about that interaction or that journey that worked? And if we can distill that and get right to the nub of it, then we can replicate that as well as we go forward. So we talked before about having seamless journeys, which is really important, but a big part of that is to try and move towards connected journeys. There's a lot of talk about omni-channel, but we know that for a lot of organizations, getting to a true omni-channel is quite difficult. But the more you can connect your journeys and you can allow those customer interaction data to flow between them, you create an environment which delivers a much more positive experience. And so if people need to break out and speak to people, you reduce your handling time of those calls as well, and it allows people to flow through, and it allows them to feel like you're there for them no matter what they do. And a big one there is, if people are trying to contact you after a digital journey has failed, So if you're working in some of the big sort of retailers that have a big online presence, they might have 95% total digital journeys. But even if 5% of those journeys fail, that might be a few million contacts into the contact center to deal with. And quite often, there's a divide between when that digital journey fails and the live agent support. So there's tools out there now. We've got one called Connected FAQs, which links into the FAQs on the website, but it adds a lot of functionality to that and a lot of management information. But it can also send that customer that's searching, if they need to speak to somebody, through to the agent with the interaction history to say they were trying to do this, but it didn't quite work. Can you help them? So it's a much better experience. Hi, Mr. Kirkham, I see you were just trying to find if this toy was in stock. Let me help you with that. But also it gives you the reports and it says actually 10 people this week have searched for this piece of information on our FAQs, but it's not there. So actually, if we write a piece of content in there, it plugs the gap. Next week, those 10 calls don't come in. So it starts to really add value. And the culmination of all of this really is to help to get to sort of improve self-serve. And I think, a big factor that we're noticing now is trying to, because that emotion is heightened, because customer needs are changing and more calls have become either urgent or emotionally driven or important for people. Actually, what self-serve does is frees up your live agents to handle the calls that they need to be handling. So we might drop call volumes actually coming through down, but the average handling time of those tends to be longer. They take more time because of the nature of them. But when you put all this together and you remove those obstacles and barriers, and the more effort you've got, the more dropouts you're going to get. You put all of these factors into the journeys, your self-serve will improve, and it improves quite dramatically. We've got a case study of a retail banking environment that I was going to touch on, but I'm conscious of time, so we'll send that out to people afterwards, or send a link so people can have a look at it. It's really an example of bringing all of these things together to have a really dramatic impact on a one particular customer journey, and the commercial value of that, and actually the benefit to the customers as well. And just one big thing to take away, if you're thinking about self-serve, it really helps to give people some assurance that that self-serve transaction has been successful afterwards. So whether that's a quick SMS or a quick email out, anything like that, if people self-serve, they're still wondering, and what they get from the live agent is a sense of trust, because they'll say the words like, okay, that's all gone through for you now. People leave happy with that. If you don't get that automated reassurance through self-serve, that in itself will quite often generate inbound contacts to say, actually, I've just tried to do this, but I'm not sure it happened. Can you tell me if I've just changed the date of my direct debit? So some things to think about there, but yeah, conscious of the time and the tech issue. So I'll start to wrap up, and we'll send some further information out, but those are the 5 steps to help us to get to the point where we've got low effort, profitable journeys. And the way we help people with that is we've developed, again, over the time using all of this, a customer experience audit, which is crucially is done before we start to engage with stakeholders, or before we understand what the technical setup is in an organization. And we travel through the journeys as we're your customers, and then we make a report and bring in what's working well, and where we think it's not working quite well, and also what we think the impact of that will be on the customers. So if it's a telephony journey and we go through and say, actually, we think you're probably getting quite high dropout rates at this point, it's very much the case that usually that will be correct, and we'll be able to attribute that back to some operational stats or some of the MI that they're getting through, and it's really powerful. And because we then have that link between the emotion and the behavior change, we can start to say, well, actually, this is happening at the moment. To fix that, this is what we need to do. And those different sections there, language, structure, quality, brand, tone of voice, and experience, those are all the sections that we look at. There's a detailed sort of 40 question set behind this, which comes up with an engagement gap for each journey. And it comes up with actually a report that says, do you know what? Your language is really good, but your structure is getting in the way. And what that then allows you to do is target specific areas with any spend that you put into it, because you've identified the precise points that will make the most difference. And you go into the calculating the benefits and taking it forward from there. And it's that sort of audit which comes back to the idea of improving the journeys, so it's better for customers, and making sure, really importantly, that we prove the ROI of what's going to happen with it. And through that handling time or the contact reduction as well, and hopefully being able to say, well, actually, this is what we think this is going to pay back for you in 6, 12, 18 months. What else would you like to do if you make those savings? And as customer experience and operational professionals, that could be a really good position to put you in and start to deliver some of those projects that you'd like to. So, and again, we'll send out a little bit more information about this. So just to wrap up, Instant Impact CX, the big thing about it is it makes a difference to customer experience right there and then. When that customer needs to get in touch with you, it makes an improvement to them, and that improvement costs less for you to contact them. So it's a deep understanding of how to develop influence within journeys, and that's key. It's very practical. There's always, if we do the CX audit, there's always things that you can go off and do yourselves straight away. There's things we might need to support you with, or do a blend of those two things, and add, if we need to add some specific skills or a bit of capacity to your team, then always happy to do that. And it's sustainable because it's win-win, and because it's I'm okay, you're okay. And you know, the points there about improve your experience and reducing costs is a good message to take back. Quick, robust calculation of benefits and rapid ROI to fund that roadmap of improvements. So very quick summary and wrap up there. I think I've maybe got a minute, and I'm not sure we're going to have time or technical capability to do questions. So Chantal, I'd like to hand over to you.
Thank you very much. I apologise to everybody for the technical issues we've experienced today. The webinar has been recorded, and we will send it out to everybody with Rick and Doogie's contact details. So if you have any questions afterwards, or if you'd like to continue the conversation, you can directly contact them. We'll be sending the slides out as well. We've had a couple of people ask for the slides, and we'll get those sent over to you as well. Again, I sincerely apologise for any technical issues. Just a quick thank you to Rick and to Doogie for today's presentation. It has been fantastic despite the issues that we've had. And again, I hope that we can continue the conversation with you guys as well. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. You'll get the recording within 24 hours. For a full list of all upcoming UK CCF webinars, please visit our events page on our website, www.uk-ccf.co.uk/events. And we do look forward to welcoming you all again soon. So thank you, stay safe, and goodbye, everybody. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone.